How can good news turn into a what the fuck? That is correct. So, Rampage Jackson was arrested in California via a warrant, and then within several hours, he is back home. Again, what the fuck, system? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and on this episode, I would first like to make a couple of announcements, and then we're getting right into this story. As you guys know, I've been following the Raja Jackson situation, and this episode is going to be an update and my unfiltered thoughts. But before we get to that, I want to say thank you guys for 86 followers over on Spotify. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not been following the Square Circle Podcast on Spotify, which is just Square Circle Podcast, no the. So if you haven't been following Square Circle Podcast on Spotify, please go do so. Spotify makes it very easy for you to leave comments, for you to participate in polls whenever I put them up, and then you can share it out, you can save it, you can share it on your own socials, you can do a lot. Spotify has given us the opportunity to also upload videos as well, so you can watch a video podcast episode from any of my live streams that I decide to put up. That's what I did in the past. And for those that are not on Spotify that decide to listen on Apple, Google, Amazon Music, Zencaster and Downcast and wherever else you get your podcasts is on and you listen to the Square Circle podcast outside of Spotify and Spotify for creators, thank you guys so much for listening to the Square Circle podcast. Square Circle podcast has been around for 6 years, and thank you guys for 12,005 streams/downloads of the Square Circle podcast for the past 6 years. Thank you so much for that big number across the board. And again, thank you to the 86 followers that have been following the Spotify channel. Also, another announcement is that I do have a Patreon. Patreon is going to be focusing on other topics other than professional wrestling, but you will get your tape study series over at the Patreon as well. Patreon is just really an unfiltered, uncensored version of me and my thoughts on certain things in the world, on culture, on life, on professional wrestling still. Stuff that would not make it onto a Square Circle podcast episode will be over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows. I will have more information on my Discord notes, volume 7. If you guys have been following me because of my Discord notes, I will be stopping at number 6 here, which I did last time. And number 6 was all about Charlie Kirk. And apologies for not giving you guys volume 5. But volume 5 can be listened for free over at the Patreon. Volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all free over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows. If you want my unfiltered thoughts about other things going on in this world and what I have to say about it, it's basically grounding myself in my values of freedom of speech, which is not controversial at all. We all have freedom of speech. We all should know how to use freedom of speech. And freedom of speech does not mean that you can continue to say whatever you want that peddles lies and an agenda, knowing that the truth has already come out and is already public knowledge. But if you continue to try to spew it and spin it in a way where you want to make the opposite look different, or if you want to really pin it on people that you truly do not like, that's just doing it in complete 100% bad faith when the truth is already there. And then it's like, no one is really going to believe you, aka what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. So all of that, all those thoughts will be over at Discord Notes Volume 7. By the way, you can follow Discord Notes on Spotify via Patreon because Discord Notes is a spin-off, I guess you want to say a spin-off, or just an extra outlet for me to get my thoughts out. But Discord Notes is exclusive to patreon.com/Marie Shadows. Another thing that I want to mention is that over on my Instagram, your fave Marie Shadows. If you like what you hear on the Square Circle podcast, and if you like what you hear on Discord notes and all of that, and you still want to follow my adventures, your fave Marie Shadows over at Instagram. And so as I bring that up, I did videos on Michelle, who decided to leave some comments under my Charlie Kirk video to say that what I had to say, or maybe she didn't listen at all, that my response in talking about Charlie Kirk and talking about freedom of speech and giving you guys a rundown of the specific podcast episodes to which I basically speak out on certain topics in the wrestling community, because I have been known to ruffle a couple feathers and people don't like what I have to say in regards to AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling, or just call them out on bullshit and just make videos about it and make podcast episodes about it. But she thought that, I guess, talking about Charlie Kirk in general was just me being gross. And we had a conversation, and then I made videos about it to give further explanations, because I do not like the idea of, just because I am a girl, a woman, a female, and I was born that way, I was never assigned that, I was born that way, that I have to automatically and blindly follow other females in their whole delusion of like, oh my God, this man said something horrible to me. He's a misogyny and misogynistic. And I have to blindly follow that? No. We all have an individuality. We all have different ways of thinking. We all grew up different in different environments. And just because this man, whoever this man could be for you, just as an example, does not want you to get hurt in whatever the situation is, does not make that man a misogynist. It really doesn't. Men are known as protectors, and if they think that whatever the situation is, if they think that the situation is harmful, they're going to tell you no, because they want to protect you. That does not mean they're trying to control you. That does not mean they're trying to be misogynistic. That doesn't mean they're trying to throw their weight around and their power around. They're not. They're trying to protect you. So I do not agree with the fact of like, if some woman out there is like, you should be upset as I am because this man did X, Y, and Z, and it's all based on emotion. No. Give me some actual physical proof that I should be upset at this guy for the right reasons and not for the wrong reasons because you got your feelings hurt. So I made videos on Michelle. Michelle is not hidden from the YouTube channel, so Michelle can comment any day of the week that she wants, and hopefully it's a she, because those comments given back to me, I'm like, it sounds like a guy, but I don't know. But yeah, Michelle had to say some stuff. I made some videos about it, and you might be like, well, that's wrong or whatever. But it's me defending myself, because sometimes people need to have a little more nuance in the things that they say, and they can't just blindly just be like, he was this, he was that. Can't you see it? Do you need a church in order to realize he was all these things? Which is really childish to say. It really is. Just because most of the world saw the evil after Charlie Kirk had died, the evil of celebrating someone's death, celebrating an American death at that point, an American civilian, an American brother death at that point. To see the world celebrate that just because you can't get your emotions in check and you want to become a sheep and have this invisible chain on you as if you are oppressed. I don't fuck with that. To put it plainly, I don't fuck with that. I fuck with common sense. I fuck with people who want to have their individuality, but then we could also find common ground, and then we can also disagree, and then we can learn, and we can have an exchange of ideas, aka conversations. That is why the Square Circle podcast will always be for free for you to listen to on Spotify and anywhere else you get your podcasting stuff from, all the platforms, including YouTube, including Rumble, and all of that. And just so you know, because the Square Circle podcast is always free for these kind of conversations and pushback, you guys can also send a one-time donation to buymeacoffee.com/Marie Shadows if you feel like this has enough value. Just a one-time donation if you want to do that. But yeah, I want to know if Michelle will always listen to my podcast, and if she has anything else to say, I will be commenting right back, just like with anybody else. Just don't be an ass. That's all I ask for. And the last announcement is that I do have merchandise. Head over to my fourth wall to grab some merchandise to just help me out, support the channel, support everything that I do. And those are the announcements. So Discord notes over at Patreon, all links down in the description below. And we're going to get right into this Rampage Jackson situation. Shout out to my Discord community for informing me that there has been good news in the Rampage Jackson situation, which basically Raja, back in August, decided to go visit Knox Pro Wrestling, but nobody told anybody that he was just there as a fan. But when you are backstage hanging out with everybody, laughing with everybody, miscommunication tends to happen. I have 2 different podcast episodes dedicated to talking about the situation, to where people in their feelings do not like what I had to say, even though I was on their side. But, you know, people with emotion, you can't reason with them at all for some odd reason. And then they never want to come back and be like, I'm sorry, I see now, you know, I get it, blah, blah, blah. So Rampage Jackson decided to take all of his anger and frustration out on a American veteran, Psycho Stu, in the ring to quote unquote get his receipt back, because AJ Mana told him what a receipt is. And also he was live streaming this whole entire thing, and his chat was hyping him up. His chat was getting under his skin. His dad even called him to be like, hey, I saw what happened. Do you need me to send over some people for backup? And Roger was like, no, I got it. It's okay. And then Rampage on his live stream was like, see, my son is mad at me or something, however he said it at that time. Then Roger was still live streaming. He got into the ring. He picked up Psycho Stu and then proceeded to mount him and throw those fast ass punches. I didn't even know it was like 20 to 22 punches, to the point where he damn near almost killed him. And that definitely deserved the penalty that the California state had given him, which is a felony battery, or battery felony, but that's the right term for it. And ever since that situation, Raja has been at home with the attorney, I guess, and not really making any more scenes, not really saying anything, but his dad Rampage has been live streaming no matter what. And so September 18th is when he was arrested on a felony charge of battery. So I am currently looking at MMA News, and this was written on September 23rd. So I'm just going to read the article and I'm going to give you my thoughts with it. So the article starts with, mere hours after being taken into custody, Rampage Jackson is back home. Around 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 18th, Jackson was arrested on a felony charge of battery with serious bodily injury, nearly a month after he viciously attacked Stuart Smith, aka Psycho Stu, at a professional wrestling event in the Sun Valley neighborhood of Los Angeles. TMZ released footage of the arrest, which took place in Huntington Beach, California. According to the report, Jackson was transported roughly 50 miles north and booked at a jail in Pasadena. Jackson was held for several hours on $50,000 bail, but ultimately bonded out at some point overnight. Man, imagine that the police officers and the police department went to the LA judge and was like, hey, we have all this evidence. We require a arrest warrant and the arrest warrant was granted. They went to go arrest Raja Jackson, doing everything step by step. And then all of a sudden, because Raja Jackson via Rampage Jackson had the money of $50,000, he could just pay to go home. You would think that having a charge like a felony battery charge, which is the actual name of the charge that he has been given, you would think that that would cancel out any kind of bail on this, because he beat up somebody at an event, almost took his life, and then decided to stay home and probably just lay low. And it's like, no, dude, you got to come in and face the music, which that phrase hasn't been used in years, but you guys get it. And it's like, wow, the system, man, you can pay to go home. And in the article, they have Rampage's comments, and I'll get to that in a second. But I do want to point out this hypocrisy, because I do see this within the wrestling industry and people that I know, and then people on social media and people that get on their own podcasts or get on news stations. And they will always want to talk about how the system is rigged. And to a certain degree, yes, the system is rigged. All our lives are rigged. Everything is rigged. You just got to know how to play the game sometimes. And sometimes it could be luck. Sometimes it's not luck. Sometimes it's just right time, right place. There's a lot of different circumstances. There's a lot of different nuances to certain types of situations. But the one thing that I want to focus on, and I want you guys just to listen to it and don't react with emotion. But how many times has somebody decided to have a Facebook post or a Twitter post or go on some type of network or go on a podcast to say that it's always the white man with the white money that can always buy their freedom, that can always get out of situations, and that money can be used for anything and everything. And I am really fed up with this idea and this talking point that it's always white men who happen to be rich who can do whatever they want with their money. And in this case, who has the $50,000 that got Raja out of jail after having an arrest warrant served for his arrest to be taken downtown? Both Rampage and Raja are black guys. They are wealthy. Well, Raja wants to make his own money. That's what he said during one of his live stream when he got into the car. He was like, hey, my dad's money is not my money. But regardless of the fact is that Rampage is a well-known MMA fighter in the MMA world who happens to be black and happens to have the $50,000 on hand to bail out his son so that way he doesn't spend a night in jail, when he was saying in other comments that he should just be in jail for a couple nights so he can understand what happened and why he's there and why beating up Psycho Stu wasn't a good idea. But yet then here you come with the $50,000 that you already had put away to just be like, oh, just go home, son. I got it. I could take it from here. I paid your $50,000 bail. Now, I do not like making any of my conversations very, very divisive or topical when it comes to race, because I just don't like that. I would judge you by your actions. I would judge you by your character. It does not matter what color skin you have. But this talking point of that if you are white and if you are rich, that you could get away with anything and everything. Rampage Jackson decided to put $50,000 away because he knew that his son will one day fuck up, and Rampage happens to be black. Therefore, does the previous talking point apply whenever someone is like, it's always the white man this, the white man and his money and white supremacy, everything else? Again, I'm trying not to make anything divisive, but I want you guys to pay attention to how words are used and how they get you so angry and how they use it to manipulate you to think that it's always just one particular skin color, and it's not a overall action, character, conversation that we should be talking about, because it does not matter what skin color you have. If you have the money and if you have the means, it's based on character and what you do with that money. Every person is different and every person has a different way of how they accumulate their money. Some people go into fighting in order to get money in a legit way. Some people end up playing golf. Some people end up playing football. Some people end up playing all these sports. Professional wrestling, that's another way to accumulate money. And we see all walks of life trying to accumulate money, but it's always a talking point of the white man can get out of anything because he has money. Rampage Jackson has a lot of money, so he could get out of anything he ever wanted to because he has money. So does that apply to him even if he's not white? That's what I want you guys to think and really be challenged on, because enough is enough of blaming one person, one group, one skin color for things that maybe you can control and things that maybe you cannot control, because it is nobody else's responsibility for the situations that you are in. There are ways to fix it. Social media is on the rise. There are ways to do things that are truthful, and there are ways to do things that are fulfilling to you. But if you're going to be very manipulated by the rhetoric and very manipulated by social media and not realize that the outside world is very, very different than the online one, then we have a problem. Because again, Rampage has a lot of money from fighting in the UFC. Rampage gets a lot of money also from live streaming, maybe like 24/7. I believe like he's streaming 24/7. And on Kick streaming, Kick has a 95-5 split. That is the highest split that any other streaming platform gives a creator. The only reason why I decided to delete my Kick streaming account is that, one, Kick is very toxic. Two, Kick has very degenerates on there. And three, I don't really like gambling. Gambling is their main source of income for them to even have a 95-5 split. And then with the fourth one, because I know I was like, and three, the fourth one is basically, I am not going to sacrifice my mental health and my energy to stream 24/7 just to get into their creator incentive program, which is an hourly rate that they pay you. So they pay you a wage once you get into the program, but it's all based on views, and you might have to have some unique people get in there, meaning that like not your usuals, but someone who never watched you to maybe get added to that. But they do pay you a wage once you get into the creator program. But again, I would have to continue to make live stream after live stream after live stream after live stream after live stream. And then I think my content will suffer because I do different things than other people. And I'm not just there just pushing away and being a cog in the machine. And then also I am just using one laptop between two content creators in my household. So I can't really do as much stuff as I can or that I would like to do just because I just need my laptop. But I'm sharing it between myself and my significant other, and we're both making content creation. Now you might be like, oh, well, you said it's no one else's fault that you can't do this or whatever. This is just me giving you information so that way you just know. I'm not saying to give me a pity party or anything like that, because I know someone in the comments would like to be a smartass, but I'm giving you information just to have in the back of your mind, just in case if you feel generous enough to check out my throne wish list to help me out to become a way better content creator, a way better streamer, and definitely have time for you guys. And we could talk about wrestling, we could talk about life, we could talk about a lot of things. It doesn't feel natural to do this all on a phone because I rather have the comfort of a PC or a laptop. But again, I'm giving you information, not saying to be like to guilt you guys into anything. So knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power. So let's move on to the Rampage comments. This is his quote. It starts by saying, "I'm doing okay. I'm holding up well," Rampage said in a statement, adding he understands the situation is no longer under his control. He fucked up. He fucked up. He got to learn his lesson. It is what it is. All I can do is be a dad. He don't listen to me. At the end of the day, he can't say I didn't do what I was supposed to do as a dad. Really? By setting aside $50,000 for a 1-day bail, I guess it has to be a 1-day bail, but setting aside $50,000 because you know one day that he's going to get in trouble and that's his get out of jail free card, when, like I said earlier, that in a other interview he was like, oh, I just wish that he could just be in jail for a couple of days so he can understand the magnitude of what he did, but yet then you bailed him out in a couple hours. So how is that being a dad? How is that being a dad that you wanted to set up bail money right away? I understand that parents can tell when their kids might end up being fuck ups or they make mistakes and they go to jail. And I get that some parents can tell that. But I thought he wanted his son to learn something, to learn anything. But the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, huh? And the whole thing about he got to learn his lesson. Well, if he's sitting at home with the attorney laying low, he's not learning anything. And the line of he don't listen to me, that's because you're bad at communicating. He's bad at communicating. Both of them need therapy to try and break down barriers and walls and not just be like, I'm a tough man. You can't tell me what to do. I'm a tough man. And Rampage is streaming 24/7 to make extra money on the side, which is not a bad thing. You can make your money however you want to. But in order for you to be a dad, you would have had to start the communication process to talk to him, to be like, hey, this is not what we do as fighters. Why he didn't have that conversation with Raja, knowing that Rampage is a fighter too? That's a conversation he should have had with him, being like, hey, you're a fighter. You should know better. But yeah, I think that that should have been a conversation to had. Now, another article here by Bro Bible. There's a particular line that I want to read out and give you my thoughts on. And in this article, the subtitle goes, or the section title, I should say, Raja Jackson's arrest caught on video. A few weeks ago, Rampage Jackson, the father, said he hadn't been in contact with his son Raja. I was going to turn him in, he said at the time. We've been waiting for arrest warrant or whatever. I got him an attorney. I did what my job is as a father to, still take care of my son because I still love him, even though how upset I am at my son. I still love him. You know what I'm saying? He's my son. But ever since he's become an adult, he don't listen to shit I say. That's because, again, you guys lack communication. This would have been a very perfect opportunity to have that starting point of let's have a conversation about this. Let's talk about what we do as a fighter and let's start unpacking things, and let's realize that social media led up to this, in addition to not talking, not getting our feelings, and making sure that there's common ground and there's fundamentals. But what I want to focus on is Rampage saying that he was going to turn him in. If you were, why say that now? You do not have to wait for the arrest warrant to turn your son in if you think that this is unacceptable. If you want your son to realize the damages that he did to Psycho Stu and that should never happen again, and that live streaming should be taken, having a back seat to it. You don't have to wait for an arrest warrant to turn someone in if you think that this is a 100% no, we don't do this shit. You're going to turn yourself in and you're going to deal with the consequences. But Rampage doesn't work like that. Rampage is too busy being on live streams 24/7 and also getting angry and just talking a bunch of nonsense and just talking in circles and just hanging out with people and trying to get money that way. And again, Kick will definitely give him back that $50,000. I'm not saying the company will do it, but like through donations and, I'm going to call it a super chat and just probably being in the creator program, all that stuff adds up. So $50,000 is pocket change to Rampage Jackson. Now, the question is, will he bail out his son again if it ever happens in the future? And yeah, the whole thing of that Rampage was going to turn him in. Like I said, you don't need to wait for an arrest warrant to do that. You could just go and turn him in and be like, hey, I'm his father. He did something horrible. I know you guys are doing an investigation. I decided to bring him in because I don't agree with what he did. And if Rampage is so upset with his son in the way that he feels like he dishonored the Rampage name by doing this, that would have been the perfect opportunity for you to turn your son in. Because if you feel that strongly and you got that upset, what do you do as a parent? You basically discipline your son. And when you discipline your son, you take him into the authorities. So that way it wouldn't have been on the 18th that he would have got arrested and then released a couple hours later when the incident happened almost towards the end of August. So yeah, the arrest warrant was finally served Thursday night, September 18th, when he was taken into custody at his apartment in Huntington Beach, California, and then released several hours in the same day just because he had that, what does all of the liberals call it? That white man money that can get them out of anything. But Raja and Rampage happen to be black. So I guess they got that black money, the $50,000. Money talks. Money does not care what skin color you have or where you grew up or the environment. Money talks. Money releases people. Money maybe cures things. Money gets you happiness. Money also gets you depression too at times. Money talks. Money does not care where it lands or whose hands the money is in or how the money is spent. Money is money. It is highly unfortunate that we had a little bit of good news, a little bit of hope that Raja Jackson was arrested via an arrest warrant, which is the proper steps. And then just because his dad decided to put $50,000 away, knowing that one day Raja would act up and do something like this, that he could get him out of jail for free until maybe the next time they have him in custody without bail, for everything to go through. And that doesn't teach anybody. But what this does teach us as a whole is that it does not matter your skin color. As long as you have the money to bail out somebody to go back home, it does not matter at all. This could have happened to anybody else of any race or color. It wouldn't matter. Money goes where money goes, and people take money no matter what. It is based on actions and characteristics that we need to look upon and call it out, because I honestly think that there should have never been a bail on Raja Jackson in the first place. The arrest warrant should have just been like, hey, we're arresting you, we're taking you downtown, we're asking you more questions, and they're going to be doing all the procedure that the police department will do, and then that's it. There should have never been no bail. Now, I quickly want to just revisit the other two podcast episodes that I talked about Raja Jackson, and those will be down in the description below. And also on Spotify, I can link only one of them to the hey, check this out next. In my first episode, I was a little bit more empathetic towards Raja Jackson and the situation, because while yes, it was completely 100% his fault and 100% fault of everybody else in Knox Pro Wrestling, I also did say that it was also live streaming 24/7 and social media and the chat. And I said that the chat has to be held responsible to some type of degree, even though they basically can't track everybody down. But for the most part, we have allowed social media to run rampant with bots, burners, and maybe some actual human beings that feel that they can just throw vitriol at people and get under people's skins and talk shit about them without having some repercussions. Raja Jackson and Rampage Jackson both need to go to therapy. They both need to have some serious talks, and they both need to take a back seat from live streaming 24/7, because this is how accidents happen. This is how stupid shit happens. And then eventually, if this keeps on happening with other incidents that we've seen in the past and going towards the future, Congress will make laws that influencers and streamers are not going to like. And then they're going to rebel against it and do stupid shit. And then Congress is like, see, this is why we did it, for your protection. But, you know, nobody could be reasoned with in this day and age, because they are so chronically online that they think that nothing like this is going to happen. Look at the UK. The UK is being suffocated right now with all of their new laws, all of their stuff that's happening to them, which is very, very sad. The controlling of their media and everything, it's really sad. And the United States should never come to that point as well. But if people still want to be degenerates online 24/7 live streaming and don't think there's any consequences, Congress will eventually step in and basically control that if you guys cannot control yourselves. In the first episode talking about this situation, I laid out the idea of just a plan. Nobody else is doing it. Everybody was just throw him in prison forever and lock him up and throw away the key. And I took the first steps to be like, wait a minute, there's a lot more stuff happening here. This is a lot more complicated situation. It's not just black and white. If this situation happened in a bar or happened outside of pro wrestling, then yes, I would say it's a black and white situation. You know, send them to jail, prison, whatever it is, and that's it. But because it's pro wrestling is a gray area that needs nuance. So I said that they should give him 1 year in jail or prison, whichever one it is. Somebody wanted to be a smartass and be like, do you know the difference between jail and prison? Does it look like I'm a lawyer, and does it look like I study this stuff? Like, if you want to tell me the difference, tell me the difference in a comment. Don't be a fucking smartass. We're here to exchange ideas. And if I know, I'll be like, oh, I know. Or like, oh, no, didn't think about it that way. But either way, I said that he should get 1 year, up to 1 year in prison/jail. And then I said that he should get therapy along with his dad and not stream, and don't stream any of this online to show people that they're doing this, because it's a really serious matter. People got upset at me because they thought I was stupid by saying 1 year. I don't know how many years they give somebody for a felony battery now that it is decided and labeled that it is a felony battery. So I don't know. I just know that he did something wrong, and I was like, hey, give him a year, and then also try to give him rehabilitation, because I was thinking that maybe he could be saved, that this was an opportunity to learn that we don't do this shit, rather than being like, oh yeah, just throw him away in prison. Because again, my question was in the first episode, what would that teach him if you just throw him in prison/jail and that's it? How is he going to realize, oh crap, social media pushed him to do this, along with not talking about any kind of trauma that he's holding down deep inside? You know, for a society that's always online 24/7, and videos that I see across Instagram, people are like, especially women are like, make sure you heal your inner child. You gotta heal your trauma. But the moment that I suggest that with therapy and not streaming anymore, for Rampage Jackson to understand the multitude of his actions, I get people telling me that I'm stupid and they can't believe I think this and all that other stupid shit that they would tell me in comments. But it's okay for a white girl to be like, you gotta heal your trauma. It wasn't normal that you got hit as a kid. It wasn't normal that your parents did this. You gotta heal your trauma. Well, Rampage and Raja have a lot of trauma together and individually, and I just think for the better of themselves and the better for society that they do need some healing. They need to communicate that. They need to get all of that out. Continuing to pay for bail, continuing to live stream 24/7, all of that is not going to fix it. So I was suggesting those. But now after all of this, it's honestly like, what is the point? what would be the point? Now, I'm not giving up on the idea that it shouldn't happen. I'm like 1%. Yeah, maybe it should happen that they go to rehab and talk it out. And I wish they could talk it out. But seeing the way that Rampage just responds to people and his statements and his comments, he just wants to live life, don't care about anything, don't even try to take accountability, and just be like, oh, well, he fucked up. It is what it is. And, I'm trying to be a dad and I was going to turn him in, but we were waiting for the arrest warrant. It's all excuses that Rampage is giving, and this is what Raja is learning. Excuses, excuses, excuses. It is okay to give the media excuses, excuses, excuses. And then when other people call him out on it, it's like he gets upset. But it's like, if you truly wanted to be a dad, now is the time for you to step up, and you should have been like, oh, you got the arrest warrant? All right, I'm not paying for the bail. That $50,000 could go to something else, or maybe something different down the line. But if he truly wanted his son to understand the multitude, he would have left him in jail until the police department was done with the investigation and his attorney was there, and leave it all into the state for the state to take care of. Right? You want Raja to be an adult at this point, but you bailed him out at $50,000. Make it make sense, man. And then the episode 2 of Raja Jackson's situation, I just quickly explained that social media is to blame, and it's a little bit of the same thing what I said earlier, that if people don't stop acting up, then eventually the government will take over and stuff will happen. Not saying that it will, I have no knowledge on this, but if you just look at patterns and the way to try to control people, eventually it will happen. But until then, the smartest thing for any of this stuff to just quiet down a bit is for Kick Streaming to really be like, hey, guys, knock it out with all this crazy stuff in IRL streaming, because most of the streamers, and that has to be put in quotation marks, because to stream 24/7 your life, you're not really a streamer. You're not adding any kind of value to someone watching it. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but I don't see it that way. I just see it as like lazy content of like, follow me around and then play the victim whenever you want to, or just really, to me, IRL streaming, it's like, I don't need to see your life 24/7. It's not like a reality show, but people get money from it. People use the system and all that, they could do what they want. But I just think that for some of the stuff that they show and some of the stuff that they do, these air quotes streamers need to do like a one up. If not, then their whole world falls apart, and then they don't know what to do afterwards because they haven't built up any other skill other than, let me go annoy somebody, let me go take you on my life or whatever, not doing anything, not anything educational, stuff like that. So if any of that falls apart, they don't know how to re-assimilate into regular life every single day without streaming something. But yeah, I think that it starts with Kick, and I think that it starts with other social media platforms, because I know someone's going to be like, Twitch does it too. Yeah, Twitch does it as well. Twitch needs a whole cleanup. We need to get certain people off of the main page and off of Twitch. And I think at this point, Twitch should just be sold off to somebody else that can handle it. And like, I don't know, but Twitch needs a whole cleanup. YouTube needs a whole cleanup. Rumble, I don't really see too much degenerate stuff on there, but most platforms need a cleanup, and that's not bad to say. Now, with all of that being said, this situation of Raja getting arrested and then being released on bail, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to share it out. Give me your thoughts. Again, I am trying not to. That's not my intentions. It's never my intentions to make my community divisive in very hot topic conversations. But if we are going to continue to peddle really bad talking points without looking on the other side and just thinking it's always one side, then I will be adding it into my conversations to have you guys think beyond surface level. Because here is another thing to think about. Even though money currently, when it is printed, it is very colorful, because for some reason we're following European stuff. I don't understand. But back in the day, for all of those people that are way too young to know about this, money was always green. You know, it was always the color green. That never changed. So at its core, money will always continue to be green. Money will always transfer from hand to hand to hand to hand. But like I said, money does not care what color your hand is. Money will always be used to buy whatever you need, to buy a house, to give it to somebody, whatever it is. Money does not care. It will change hands. And that's the kind of thinking and perception you need to have when news about something like this gets brought up, and it's not a white family getting their white kid out of jail. It is a black family getting their black son out of jail on $50,000 bond, and that $50,000 is still green money. So it does not matter. That's the kind of perception and kind of ideas and big brain thinking that I want you guys to have when looking at certain situations and using it in life and using critical thinking skills, that, you know, rather than just being on the surface level and blaming one side for everything. It gets a little tiring when one side is completely blamed. Now, just so you know, nothing's ever going to be perfect. My rhetoric is never going to be perfect. Your rhetoric is never going to be perfect. The world's rhetoric is never going to be perfect. But at least we can find some common ground. At least we can understand each other. At least we can have these conversations. And if you did not like anything that I had to say, then you can leave a comment. I'll read it. I'll look at it. Like I said, you can share out this episode to wherever you want to share it out to, get the word out. But I think that this was a very bad thing that happened. Somewhat hopeful, and then like, what the fuck? All right, ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder, I do have Patreon, patreon.com/Marie Shadows, where I could talk about any other topic other than wrestling, maybe a little bit of wrestling if it relates to something. And if you enjoy that, head over to patreon.com/Marie Shadows. Patreon tiers start at $3 and the most is $7 for an all experience VIP Patreon exclusive. Discord Notes Volume 7 is dropping soon, and my other podcast episode talking about Masha abusing Akira will be dropping soon as well on the Square Circle Podcast. Please make sure to follow the Square Circle Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Substack, and anywhere else that you get your podcasts from. Check out the merchandise, and if you think that this episode deserves some thanks, head over to buymeacoffee.com/Marie Shadows to send a one-time donation if you learned anything new, if you agree with anything or anything like that, or you just want to keep the channel and the brand and Marie Shadows going no matter what. Buymeacoffee.com/Marie Shadows, patreon.com/Marie Shadows, youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast, and any other links will be down in the description below. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.